10 years ago. But it seems like they're showing no signs of ring rust or seems like they just missed the business. That's all it seems. And it's nice to know that Booker T is going to be returning. What kind of role is he going to be having when he returns? He's probably just going to jump up from commentary like JBL did back in 2007, attack one of the wrestlers, probably turn heel, remain babyface, who knows, probably be provoked into challenging someone at a pay-per-view, and then he's going to return to the ring full-time. I know when JBL made the decision to return, he told me that it was because his back got better and he just wanted to finish up his wrestling career the right way. Going out losing a 10-second matchup to Rey Mysterio is not the way that someone like JBL probably wanted to go out. More so the way the company wanted to send him out, but his back got better and he stopped doing commentary and he came back, and it seemed like he was going to win the WWE Championship for a while, and they never went through with that. But it's nice to know that JBL finished up his career the way he wanted to finish up his career, and I had the privilege of actually conducting one of his final wrestling interviews. JBL is doing well with his future endeavors currently right now, and I wish him all the best. And of course, he's still promoting his energy drink. Are they going to have Booker T do the same thing, jump up from commentary one of these nights and start wrestling again? Do you think he's going to challenge for the championship and probably become champion? Not right off the start of it all. I don't think they're going to have Booker T become the champion. I think they're going to kind of build up. I think he's going to be in main events and challenge for the title, but I don't think immediately they're going to give him his 7th world title. I think what they'll do is they'll kind of build up to it, kind of like how they built up for things like Kelly winning the Divas Championship and how they built up JBL's return fantastically as they did. I think they're going to go similar to JBL's return down that same road with Booker T, and I'm going to really look forward to see what Booker T is going to be offering, especially to the new talent initiative and people who he's never had the opportunity to compete against inside of the ring. I mean, he's wrestled against virtually everyone from Kevin Nash to The Undertaker to Chris Jericho to The Rock to Steve Austin. I'll never forget that supermarket brawl they had in Bakersfield, California, where they terrorized the supermarket, and then that program he had with The Rock where he actually mimicked The Rock and actually created the move the bookend, which was an interpretation of the Rock Bottom with a bit of modification, a Booker T style version of the Rock Bottom. I'll never forget all the promos that were put together for the Rock feud. Booker T actually even attempted to star in his own movie, and it was quite entertaining. I believe he tried to star in a remake of, or his own version, interpretation of The Scorpion King, which was kind of cool too. And I'll never forget the things that he did with people like Kane, very popular tag team they formed, and Booker T and Rob Van Dam went on to hold the tag team titles. I mean, there were so many things that he did in his career, and not taking anything away from his WCW career, but I think that WWE really put Booker T on display in a way that WCW were unable to do. I mean, WCW gave him 5 world titles, which looked fantastic on his resume, but I mean, WWE put him on display in a way that WCW were unable to do. I think the King Booker gimmick, with how much criticism it received, probably had no place being involved with Booker T's career, but I think the King Booker gimmick paid dividends for him because he went on to capture his final championship in 2006, which was over 5 years ago. I'll never forget seeing that match between himself and Rey Mysterio. It seemed like every time Booker T and Mysterio tied it up inside the ring for a title or not, they were able to create magic. It seems like Rey Mysterio is able to create magic against people who are significantly larger and stronger than he is, and Booker T is no exception. I mean, the matches he had with Kevin Nash and Lex Luger and Scott Norton and the Giant, earning the reputation of being a giant killer, were great, and his matches with Booker T were just as amazing, and I think the match they had for the world title really took Booker T's career as the King Booker gimmick into an entirely different direction. I know the King Booker thing received a lot of criticism, but it seemed like Booker T really enjoyed it, and when he was playing the King Booker gimmick, it seems like he got into that gimmick more than he got into any of the other gimmicks that he played in WWE or WCW. He had the time of his life. It seemed like he was having the time of his life there when he was doing the King Booker gimmick, and I really enjoyed it, and especially when he started using the phrase sucker a lot in WWE even before the King Booker gimmick was going full swing for him. But I think the King Booker gimmick definitely were some of his best days, and I know there are a lot of people out there who are probably not going to agree with me with that statement about the King Booker gimmick being some of his best days, but I'm going to ask the question to our listening audience. I know we get a lot of comments, especially here on YouTube.com. Jonathan Clarke 22, and we talk about a variety of different topics here. So I'm going to be asking this to our listening audience who might be listening to this in our audio archives on our website or through our YouTube channel at youtube.com Jonathan Clarke 22, where a lot of our comments come in. We get a lot of subscribers here on YouTube. So I'll throw this out over the airwaves. Do you think that some of Booker T's best wrestling days came when he had the King Booker gimmick in WWE in 2006 after he won the King of the Ring tournament in 2006? I believe it was the first King of the Ring tournament since 2002. That was the last King of the Ring tournament before that one was actually won by Brock Lesnar. So he won the first King of the Ring tournament in about 6 or 7 years. Do you think his best days came when he became King Booker? I think they did. I really do think they did. That would be a great poll question for our listening audience, and we could probably throw the results of the poll up on our website. But I think some of his best days definitely came when he was King Booker, and if it weren't for King Booker, I don't think Booker T's career would have took that type of directional turn, and some of his best days probably would have never been created from the King Booker gimmick. But I think that he had a fantastic run for himself in TNA Wrestling when he was brought in as Sting's mystery partner in a pay-per-view. But the stuff he did with the Main Event Mafia pales in comparison to what he did in WWE. I mean, everything he did in WWE and early WCW days were when Booker T was in his prime. The stuff he did with Stevie Ray, who I have no information on about the whereabouts of. If anybody out there has any information about what Stevie Ray is actually doing, because he is one guy you never find any news about from the professional wrestling news websites or the official websites of the wrestlers. It seems like Stevie Ray is someone that nobody ever talks about. If you have any information about the whereabouts of Stevie Ray, drop us a comment here on one of our YouTube videos here at youtube.com Jonathan Clarke 22, or send it to our news center as a news item by clicking on the Send Us Your Wrestling News button found in our news center. I'd love to know the whereabouts of Stevie Ray, because he was one guy that interests me a lot, and I think he brought a lot to the Harlem Heat tag team when they were WCW tag team champions. I'd really like to know where Stevie Ray is, because that's one guy I have no information on about the whereabouts of. Booker T was the one that really made Harlem Heat what they were, and Stevie Ray definitely contributed a lot to the team, because there was no I in team in professional wrestling. But I really enjoyed a lot of Booker T's work. He definitely gave it 110% every time he wrestled inside of the ring, and no matter who he was booked against, it could have been something as simple as a match against Goldust, and he made it stand out and mean something, not only to him, but to the wrestler he was working against. I mean, he did Goldust a lot of justice, especially when Goldust was looking to be pushed in the right direction in about 2002, 2003. I think they did wonderful as a tag team, and he helped Kane out a lot too. Kane and Booker T provided us with a bit of comical relief time and time again, and RVD was no exception to that as well. And every time we saw Booker T versus Rob Van Dam, it was a great match too. I'll never forget the very first Raw that Ric Flair was in charge of back in 2002, and the first match was actually for the Intercontinental Championship, and it saw Rob Van Dam go one-on-one with Booker T, and it was a great match. Anytime you saw Booker T and Rob Van Dam, or Booker T and Kane, or Booker T and Goldust, or Booker T and Jericho, Booker T and Austin The Rock, great. And Booker T definitely, I think, can be classified as an all-around legend in the professional wrestling industry for everything he did for WCW especially, and his wife Charmel being involved in his gimmick on the last few years of his in-ring run. Everything he did for WCW especially classifies Booker T as a legend, and I think that he definitely has earned the reputation of being a legend. He is definitely one guy in professional wrestling who earned his stripes. I mean, if I was to run down all the accomplishments and career highlights of someone like Booker T, we would be here all evening, so I'm not going to do that. Five-time WCW champion, former WWE Intercontinental champion, multi-time tag team champion, and one-time world champion in WCW and WWE, all together holding the championship a total of 6 times with additional wins of the Intercontinental Championship and tag team titles. Booker T is a phenomenal athlete, and you can't forget his win of the WCW United States Championship, which he gave to Kanyon around the Alliance days too, which was kind of stupid. He just kind of pawns the United States title off to Kanyon to carry WCW as the champion, as the voice, I think, of WCW as the champion around the Alliance days. He just kind of gives it to Kanyon. I'll never forget interviewing Canyon's webmaster and talking to Canyon's webmaster, who was also one of his good friends, about attending Canyon's funeral, and how emotional that was. That had to have been an emotional experience for Canyon's webmaster. I didn't have the opportunity to attend Canyon's funeral, but I had the opportunity to interview his webmaster, who was also a good friend of him, and interviewed some of Canyon's close personal friends, and they were all emotionally touched by his passing several years ago. 2 or 3 years ago, I think that happened. With so many people dying each year with professional wrestling, it's kind of hard to keep track of it all. But there is a YouTube video of how many people passed away in the last 3 or 4 years put together here on YouTube. If you're able to find it, it's worth your while to check out. It shows the many wrestlers who have passed away and the cause of their death. Some died from heart failure, and others died from unexplainable causes. The list goes on and on as to why we lose so many people, and Canyon was one of them. But his work with Booker T definitely was some of his best work that we saw. That was right around the time WWE were marketing him as one of the best wrestlers in the world. Who was better than Canyon was his very well-known catchphrase, and it actually started his entrance music in the Alliance days and, of course, the last few years of WCW. So I remember that from Booker T too, how he gave the United States title to Canyon and really helped Canyon's career too. And not only that, but he helped a lot of young wrestlers too. And that's exactly why I think they're going to be putting Booker T back into the ring, especially around 2011 and into 2012, is to help the new talent initiative. I mean, he could do wonders for people like Jack Swagger, who he already has a tremendous amount of history with, given the fact that he actually competed with Jack Swagger in his first match in 4 or 5 years on Raw. He was actually the host of the Raw Roulette show they did a few months ago, and he did a phenomenal job, even though he was like, "This is going to suck for you, man. Oh, that's going to suck for you, man." Even with that always being repeated by him, he did a phenomenal job doing that. And his commentary, he started off a bit slow at the start of 2011, coming off his appearance in the Royal Rumble. I wasn't really into his commentary, but I think Booker T is definitely coming to his own, doing commentary on SmackDown with Michael Cole and Josh Matthews helping him out. I think Booker T is doing a phenomenal job, better than he was back in January and February. Here we are now in November and December month coming up on here,